Hey everybody, thanks for joining a little early. We should start around 6:30.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this orientation session for the 2024 South Carolina Synod Assembly. If this is your first time serving as a voting member of the South Carolina Synod Assembly, welcome. I'm so glad you're here and I appreciate your willingness to serve. And if you have served before, thank you for your willingness to serve again. We're delighted to be able to gather together. Under the theme this year of like good stewards comes from 1 Peter chapter 4 verses 6 through 11. Above all, maintain constant love for one another, for love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without complaining. Like good stewards of the manifold grace of God, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received. Whoever speaks must do so as one speaking the very words of God. Whoever serves must do so with the strength that God supplies, so that God may be glorified in all things through Jesus Christ. To him belong the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. This year, we are glad to be able to gather together online virtually, not only to do the business of the Synod, but to hear the amazing stories of ministry that are going on across the state and to learn from one another. Like good stewards, may we share our gifts with those around us in order to show God's radical love and welcome. And may the 2024 South Carolina Synod Assembly be a time of sharing these stories, inspiring others, and getting people excited to say, "This is my church." I'm Jenny Abisher, and I'm proud to serve as your bishop in the South Carolina Synod. This year, leading up to this Synod Assembly, we have been blessed by the leadership of the Reverend Dr. Mark Allen Powell, who has offered us 4 sessions throughout the month of May on various aspects of stewardship. He has stretched our imagination and helped us to think about stewardship in the broadest sense possible, and we are glad that he was able to be with us in this endeavor. We're so thankful for the opportunity to immerse ourselves in God's Word and to study with Dr. Powell. If you haven't had the opportunity to participate in that Bible study, you should know that those videos are available on our Synod website, and I encourage you to look at those and to share those with groups within your congregation for a deeper rootedness in stewardship education. Now, voting members and those with voice are allowed to speak during debate and to nominate individuals for election. If you wish to make comments to me during the assembly and to speak on an issue that's at hand, I would ask that you please use the Lumi platform to get in line. The chat tech will send names of anyone who is in line to speak with me, and you will be called upon. You'll be called upon in the order in which you have gotten in line, and I'll ask you to unmute your microphone, to turn on your video, and then to speak with the assembly and with myself. The speeches are limited to 2 minutes per person. We gather as voting members who have been called as part of the entire assembly of the South Carolina Synod to conduct business, to elect leaders, to make decisions on resolutions and memorials, to worship and fellowship together. Our language about assembly and voting members is intentional and distinct. As a voting member, you have had the responsibility to familiarize yourself with the biographical information for elections. That information is still found on the Lumi platform and on our website, and I encourage you tonight, if you haven't already read it, to read through that. But of course, I'm hoping that you've already taken the time to do that. Nominations can also be received from the floor during the report of the nominating committee tomorrow. If you nominate someone, we ask that you would please send an email to Charlene@scsynod.com. That's CHARLENE@scsynod.com. You'll need to provide her with the nominee's full name, email address, and phone number. And you'll need to do that as soon as possible because with a one-day assembly, our deadlines come up pretty quickly. Tomorrow, our worship will wrap around the work that we do together in assembly. And the liturgy will be done in two parts. Part 1 will begin our time together and will conclude with the prayer of the day. Part 2 will begin after the installation of our Synod Council and will conclude with the closing of the assembly. This year, our Synod Council has designated the offering of the 2024 assembly to campus ministries across the Synod. We have learned that food insecurity is a real issue for our college students, and feeding ministries of our campus ministries are vitally important. Sharing a meal is a powerful means of welcoming people and creating community, and it's life-giving work. We hope that all of the congregations and individuals of this assembly have found a special way to gather their assembly offering, and they have sent it as part of a very important ministry of feeding young adults on our own college campuses across South Carolina. Your generosity furthers this mission and is a tangible sign of God's grace and love. There's several ways for any of you to participate in the offering before, during, and after assembly. Mail your offering to the Synod office at 1003 Richland Street, Columbia 29201, and please mark your check assembly offering. Or you can visit our website and click assembly offering. And finally, a third way, you can give by text. Simply text the word give to 864-383-1482. And after following instructions to set up your payment information, which you can do prior to worship and even tonight, text the dollar amount that you wish to give and the word offering. And we thank you very much for the ways that you contribute to supporting our campus ministries through this offering at Assembly this year. We also thank you for your willingness and your enthusiasm for serving as a voting member of the South Carolina Synod 2024 Assembly. We encourage you to take pictures, especially if you're at some of the watch parties that we know are happening around the state, but even if you're at your own kitchen table. Take pictures and please use the hashtag SCSynod to share your pictures because we would love to see them, to share them, and to see the interactions that you're having. Now, let me take a few minutes to review the Lumi platform with you. I want to walk through this virtual platform and provide you the opportunity to test certain functionality. This session is going to be repeated at the end of the half hour again, and you're welcome to stay for a second time, but just let's move through that right now. When you sign on to Lumi, you should see two panels visible on your screen. The right panel is a Zoom meeting where you will see speakers and material displayed during the meeting. The panel on the left is where you'll find the information and the tools for this business meeting. So the Zoom panel on the right, if you do not see the Zoom panel on your right, it could be that it's minimized at the bottom of your screen or on the right side of your screen. If needed, look for a black bar at the bottom of your screen or at the right side of your screen that says Zoom. When you see that black bar, click on it to open the Zoom panel. You might need to adjust your screen ratio to zoom out so that you can get a split screen and see both of those panels at the same time. We suggest that you use a laptop or a desktop computer to properly see the Zoom panel and to follow along on one screen. The Lumi panel on the left is the panel you would use for general information, requesting to speak, and accessing meeting materials. If you're a voting member, the ballot will appear on the left side when a vote is called for. The home screen is the screen you see when you log in. You can always return to this screen by clicking the home icon in the top left portion of their screen. You're going to find information about how to use the platform and other information about the meeting. Please take the time to read the information thoroughly tonight, and again when you access the meeting tomorrow morning. To access documents, click on the Documents icon on the right of your menu bar. Once you click the icon, select the document that you'd like to view. You can view it within the platform, or you can download it to your desktop. Now let me talk about the speaker queue. We're going to practice this in just a few minutes. If you wanted to make a motion from the virtual floor of the assembly, there are a few simple steps that you have to follow in order to be recognized to speak. At the top of your menu bar, on the left panel, you're going to see Speaker Queue. It's an icon in the center. When you click that icon, you're going to see a list of actions. Review the list and then type your reason for requesting to speak into the text box at the top of the screen. Once you've typed your request, click the arrow icon to the right of your text box to submit your request to speak. You have now entered the speaker queue. Once you've done that and you've clicked the arrow, you're in the speaker queue, and I want you to think about it like you're standing in line at the microphone. So we're going to go ahead and try that in just a moment. Once you type your request to speak, I'm going to ask you, please wait until you're recognized. You may not immediately hear your name called, but you are in line and you will be received in the order that you made the request. When you hear your name called, I will ask you to select the raise your hand function, which is found in the participants list under More. Once you raise your hand, just wait a second. Do not lower your hand. Raising your hand in Zoom allows our IT techs to find you and to permit you to unmute yourself and your microphone. So please do not raise your hand in Zoom unless you have already signed into the queue and requested to speak. But once your name is called, a pop-up will appear on the right side of your screen and prompt you to unmute, and then you will click unmute and begin speaking. I would like you to take a chance right now and just locate your raise your hand button and click it to raise your virtual hand. I see some of you and you're doing very well. Again, I want to make a reminder for each of you. Type your request to speak from the left panel to join the speaker queue before you're recognized to speak. If you raise your hand in Zoom and you have not typed in your request to be in the speaker panel, you cannot be called upon because I will not see your name. I'll start now calling on those who have entered the speaker queue. We're going to go into a practice. I want to allow you to test your microphone. If you'd like to ask a question or test your microphone and you haven't submitted a request, please do so now and then wait for me to call on your name. Okay, I'd like to call on Carolyn Traylor. Carolyn, would you please raise your hand in Zoom and let Lumi find you. And then once they find you, you can unmute yourself, turn your camera on, and you may ask your question.
All right. And I'm not sure how to turn my camera on. No?
Carolyn Trailer.
Mute.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Can you
gonna
hear
go
me?
on to Joyce Shaw. Joyce, raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Brandon with Lumi. I could hear Miss Carolyn in Zoom, but I don't know that you could hear her.
Instructions from Lumi. But if you would, unmute yourself. Put your camera on. I see you, Joyce, but you haven't unmuted yourself. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can't hear her.
Testing what?
I can see her, but I cannot hear her.
Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Joyce, you're doing this correctly. Again, this is Brandon and Lumi. I can hear you in Zoom, so you're doing everything correct. They are working on why they can't hear you in the in the office there.
Joyce, can you
So
say something to me?
Testing 1, 2,
I
3.
cannot hear her.
yeah, you're okay, Joyce. Again, this is Brandon with Lumi, and everyone
For me
can
a
hear you.
second.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody can hear you in Zoom. They're just not able to hear you yet in the room.
All right.
And I'll just do a little bit. I'll keep talking for a second to give hopefully Neil a chance to figure out what they're doing there, so that when it does start working, they'll actually have a voice in the room. So again, this is Brandon with the Lumi. Just wasting a little time until they can hear us in the room.
Apparently be heard, but I cannot hear you in here. But we're going to work on that, and that's good for us as well. So thank you for giving us a moment.
Joyce, you get the gold star of the day.
Well, thank you very much.
I've already missed the first name that actually came up, but she did it correctly as well, because I could hear her in Zoom. But again, they weren't able to hear them in the room.
Okay.
You guys are following instructions and doing quite well. I'll give you a little heads up. We have quite a few already in the speaker queue. We've got a total of 13 people that are requesting to speak to try to test their microphones this evening. Again, I'm just kind of wasting a little time trying to make sure I can give Neil an opportunity to hear a voice when he gets it to work. It's not just a quiet dead air and he skips on by whatever button he magically presses to make it work.
Shall I lower my hand and mute mine now?
No, ma'am, I would stay where you are. You're okay. I guess I'll give everybody a little bit of a heads up. Again, Joyce did it very, very well. She raised her hand, which enabled me to find her in the list. So again, just as a reminder, unless you've actually been called on to speak, don't raise your hand. That just kind of gives me more hands to sift through until I can find the right one. So please only raise your hand once you've actually been called on to speak. What actually happens when you are called on to speak is, again, the Lumi Tech, sends you a prompt to unmute. And so as Joyce has already figured out, a blue button comes up on the screen. It says, please unmute your microphone. But you don't get that prompt unless I actually send it to you. But when you see that prompt, you can just simply unmute and then you'll be able to speak. You can just leave your hand raised again, as Joyce is doing now. And once you're actually finished, you could either lower your hand then, or it's a good chance that I'll probably just lower it for you. But it's really up to you whether you beat me to the button or not. Again, thanks to everybody for joining us this evening and working through some of our technical difficulties. You guys all are in the right place, and I'm trusting that you were able to hear the opening remarks of the bishop. Again, we're just to a point now where we're kind of testing the speaking queue microphones. So far, everybody in Zoom has done it properly. I do see quite a few in the speaker queue that are waiting to speak, but we've come to a little bit of a technical glitch where they can't hear us in the room unless Bishop Jenny raises her hand. I'll know that she can hear me now, but I don't think she can. So they're just working through some technical issues there so that they can actually hear us in the Zoom meeting. I believe they do have a couple of monitors and such there in the main office. I think they've got a room where they're watching this, so that's probably how they knew or know that Zoom is working properly. They just can't get the audio to the bishop. So that's what they're currently working on at the moment. I'll give a little shout out to the tech team at the moment, Mr. Neal. He has got a tough job, so he is working through it feverishly as we speak. I would not want to be in his position at the moment. And again, this is Brandon with Lumi. Thanks everybody for joining our orientation this evening. We're currently just in the process of working through a bit of a technical sound problem where the Zoom is working properly. Everybody so far has done an outstanding job and done it correctly thus far, but they're just working on getting audio to the bishop so that she can hear what's actually being said in the room.
I'm glad somebody is keeping everyone entertained.
I think they just sent Bishop Jenny a message that says, "I'm keeping you guys entertained." So I'm glad I'm able to do something this evening other than just listen. So this is good. Again, thanks everybody for joining. We're just at a standstill for the moment, just getting some technical issues worked out. Again, the Zoom is working properly. So far, Miss Joyce Shaw has requested to speak and she unmuted her microphone properly. She followed the correct procedures. The procedures are to join the speaker queue. If you'd like to test your microphone this evening, is to enter yourself into the speaking queue by typing in what you would like to speak about. You'll notice that they're on the speaker queue tab, which is in the middle of that home page. When you click on that speaker queue tab, there should be a list of things that you can put into the text box. So it might be speak for, speak against, make a motion, make an amendment, whatever the case may be. But for right now, you can just put request to speak in that text box. Once you have that request to speak in the text box, just hit the send arrow, which is out to the right of that text box. That will then send your request to speak to our techs that are monitoring that. And then they are then putting that on a screen essentially for Bishop Jenny so that she can see who is in line to speak. So when you do that, they'll move you in line to speak. At that point, Bishop Jenny will then prompt you to raise your hand in Zoom. If you can't find the raise your hand button, most everybody's already found it and did a good job of raising it earlier. But the raise your hand button is generally either right at the bottom of the Zoom screen or it may be under the more button, which are like the three little dots. If you click that, the raise your hand button is sometimes located under there. I think it's also sometimes located under the participants window. But once you raise your hand, I will then find you in the list and then I will send you a prompt to unmute. So that long-winded explanation, there's basically two things. Put yourself in the speaker queue, wait to be called on to speak, and then once you are prompted to unmute, simply unmute your microphone. So it's really just those three things to be able to speak to the assembly. Again, Neil is just working feverishly to get the audio into Bishop Jenny's ear. So he's just working through those. He looks like he may be handing her another set of headphones now. Maybe she can hear us, and if she can hear us, she'll give us a thumbs up, maybe.
I can hear you now.
Hey, she can hear. So okay, so we're working through it. Looks like they've got a cord around her neck. Hopefully that is not a bad thing. So, yep. So Bishop Jeannie, at this point, you had Miss Joyce Shaw on the line, and so she is ready to speak.
Excellent. Thank you for your patience.
Bishop, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So now I want to call on Pastor Mike Watson. Did he give up on us? No, I see him. If you would unmute yourself and put your camera on.
Evening.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing very well.
Good. You have a question or you just want to test your mic?
I was just testing the mic.
Excellent. Thank you. All
Right.
right. Katrina Davis, would you raise your hand and unmute yourself? There we go. Hi, Katrina.
Hello, just testing my mic.
Excellent. I can hear you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peggy Drew, can you unmute yourself and turn your camera on? I see you in the middle of my screen. There you go.
I'm just testing my mic as well.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. It works. Deacon Kathleen Cartledge. There you go. I see you. You have to unmute yourself. I cannot hear Deacon Kathleen. Can anybody in tech hear her?
No, I don't hear her either. I do see her microphone unmuted, so maybe Kathleen, if you do hear us, you may just make sure that you have the correct microphone selected under your audio settings. And Bishop Jeannie, I might suggest we go to the next person while she maybe figures that out.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Kathleen. D. Jones, you have a question? If you would unmute yourself. I don't see D. Raise your hand in Zoom.
Yep, so
Nope.
D is unmuted.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Are you testing your mic?
Hey, I just wanted to, yes, ma'am, just testing my mic.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for doing that tonight. Let's see. Let's try Kathleen again.
Yeah, I still don't hear her. I do see that she has her microphone unmuted, though.
Yeah, I don't hear you at all, Kathleen. I can see you, though. It's nice to see you tonight. Let me go on. Genty Roberts. I don't see them. Genty, can you raise your hand so Lumi can find you? There. Okay, unmute yourself and put your camera on.
So I noticed that she is on a phone, so I'm not sure if she's going to be able to turn her camera on. I do see her phone is unmuted. So Genty, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but we can't hear you at the moment.
Genty, can you try to say something?
Hello?
There. Okay, I heard you that time. Say one more thing so I can be sure. Nope. All right, I'm going to keep going. Janice Dennison. There we go. Unmute yourself, Janice.
Hi,
Hello.
can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Thank you.
That's great. I had to get a new computer today, so I have no idea where the microphone is even. So,
Well, I'm glad that
glad
we're
it's
able to
working.
hear you.
yes,
you.
thank you.
Absolutely. Teresa Miller. Oh, where is the raise hand found? That is in your Zoom area. You've got it? Okay, excellent. You want to test your mic? You can turn your microphone off and speak to me. You're still muted, Teresa.
Yeah, that might have been my fault. I just now sent the prompt to her to unmute.
Okay, there we go.
How about how about now?
I can hear you. Good to be with you.
Hi.
Yep, you're good.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good.
Brad Long, you have an important question.
And before I unmute this microphone, Bishop Jeannie, I'd like to just give everybody a reminder. Please don't raise your hand in Zoom until the bishop calls on you, just because it puts a lot of people in the list and I'm trying to sift through them. So if you guys can work with me, only raise your hand when Bishop Jeannie calls on you. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Brad Long,
Hey, Bishop Jenny, can you hear me?
I sure can. You have an important
Are you-
question?
Yes, I did. Are you in Columbia right now?
I am. I'm in the Synod office in our communications studio.
So was it as hot today in Columbia as it was in Charleston?
Have no idea. I haven't been out any time today.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you. Have
Wrap
a good
things
night.
up a little bit.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
You
All
too.
right. Let me call on Karen Knust. There we go. Karen, can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hi. I think
Nice
we
to
got
meet
it.
you.
Nice to meet you, Karen. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Okay, that's working. Great.
Seems good. Jay Heine. Jay, would you raise your hand so Lumi can find you?
Okay.
Jay, I just sent you the prompt to unmute, so you're already on.
Yeah, hello, Bishop. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Jeannie Posey. I see you, Jeannie.
I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pastor Beth Neubauer. I see your hand. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Getting there, testing the system, Bishop. Good evening.
It's good to see you tonight. Thank you for testing.
Mhm.
Okay, let's try Carolyn Trailer. There you are. Can you unmute yourself?
Good evening, Bishop Jenny. Wishes for a wonderful synod, and I'm just testing.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you. I can hear you very well. All right, David Lucas. Can you raise your hand, David? There he is. You'll unmute yourself and turn your camera on. Hello.
I do see David is unmuted. Not sure if he is speaking or not.
I can't tell.
I don't see his microphone moving, so I'm assuming at this point that he's not. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Hello.
I did hear him for a brief.
David, you're cutting in and out on me. Can you tell me something like a sentence so we can tell if your mic is working? I'll go on and we'll come back. Bob Freund. Bob, can you raise your hand?
You hear me now?
I can hear somebody. Is that David?
Yeah,
Excellent. I can hear you, David. Thank you.
my video's not working, so I'll have to work on that.
Okay, no worries. I'm glad I could hear you. Bob Freund?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, that's a good thing then, I guess.
Guess so. Thank you.
So now I will mute myself.
All right, I'm going to try Kathleen Cartledge again. Unmute yourself, Kathleen. I still can't hear you. I don't know why. I feel sad. I'm sorry. All right, Christopher. Christopher, you want to raise your hand? Did you give up on us?
Nope.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I won't take 42 minutes to check in.
I don't believe that, but I'll just keep moving. All right.
Thank you.
Sharon Comley. Will you raise your hand? There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sherry. How are you?
Hi, Bishop Jenny. I'm good. I hope you are too and ready for tomorrow.
I hope I am too. It's good to see you. Thank you.
You too.
Let's
Uh-huh.
try Kathleen.
Actually,
Let's see if I can get
Bishop.
Kathleen. Yes.
Bishop Jenny, if I may. I just noticed that Miss Sharon, as she was speaking, I could hear a little bit of echo in her microphone. So I'm going to make the assumption, and I'm making an assumption, that she may be in the room with someone else that's also listening to the meeting, or she's listening on two different devices. So just as a note, anytime that you have another audio in the room, mute the device that you're not speaking on, and that way you don't get that feedback. So we just want to give you a heads up there.
All right. You want me to try that one? All right. I don't hear anything, but let's see. I've got, we're going to try Kathleen Cartledge.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yay. Wonderful. That's great
You
news.
just had to look up the right device. I'll make sure it's with me tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, actually, Kathleen, before you hang up, this is Brandon with Lumi. I would love to hear what your challenge was, so that we might be able, just it gives me more information and more knowledge for the next person. What was your problem?
I'm not sure. This is a laptop. It's fairly new. And for some reason, the microphone, Realtek mic is showing that it's working, but it's not.
Okay.
So I pulled a camera I use on my desktop for Zoom meetings, which has a built-in mic. And the minute I plugged it in, it overrode the other microphone.
Gotcha. Something that well, no, I started to say sometimes the security settings will block a microphone, but it shouldn't be the case if it was seeing that one. So anyway, no, good to know. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah. It wasn't security on our end. My husband's IT, and he came and checked that. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you all for your participation tonight and for hanging in with us. This is very important that we get this done. And I see no one else in the queue, so I'm going to move on. And now, voting members, we're going to review the voting technology and we're going to conduct a practice vote. During the business meeting, once the chair, that's me, announces voting is now open, the left side of the voting member screen will automatically display a ballot. To submit your vote, you simply click on your choice. If you're in favor, it's a yes. If you're against, it's a no. And either choice, whichever you click, will be highlighted. You don't need to do anything else. For this kind of vote, yes or no, you simply have to click your choice. You will see a confirmation message at the top and your vote has been received, and that's just above your vote options. If you want to change your vote at any time during this ballot, you can select a different choice. And you can do that until we close the vote. And for each ballot, I will say voting is now closed. At that time, you will not be able to change your vote at all, and your last selection will be counted. So now let's do a practice yes or no vote. Are you ready? Let me see some heads nodding. I hope you're ready. Okay. Here's the question. Did you attend the 2023 South Carolina Synod Assembly in Columbia? Yes or no? Assembly, vote now. Okay, voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? Wow, almost an even split. Well, I'm glad to have those of you who were here before and those of you who are brand new. All right, now we're going to have a second test question. All members who are eligible to vote should see a practice ballot open on the left side of your screen. As I mentioned earlier, you make your selection, you simply click on your choice, and you'll see a confirmation text at the top confirming your choice. If you need to change your vote, you simply click a different selection. I'm going to give some time still for us to vote. You've got 3 choices. You pick one. Vote now. Okay, voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? Ah, very good, Assembly. Peter is the correct answer. All right, now we're going to practice an election where you have more than one seat to choose from. All voting members eligible to vote should now see a practice ballot on the left side of your screen. To make your selection, you simply click on your choices. You have to choose up to three of these, and when you choose them, they will be highlighted. If you need to change your selection, you simply click another name. For this type of ballot, you will have to hit send at the bottom of the screen to cast your vote. So you're choosing up to 3, and then you hit send. Vote now. I'm going to give just a few more seconds to cast your vote. Remember that you're going to get confirmation of your choices. If you wish to cancel your vote, you can click the cancel button, or you can select different choices until I announce that voting is closed. But remember to click the send button to cast your vote. Okay, voting is now closed. Can we see the results, Lumi? Wow, that's a very even mix. Thank you, Assembly. I hope that this has been helpful. We really hope that this practice session answered your questions and helped you to prepare to use this virtual platform during our business meeting tomorrow. For those of you who may have just joined us, or those of you who would like more practice, you may stay on and we will go through everything again. If there is anyone who has a question, you may ask to be in the queue, the speaker queue, and I will recognize you before we end this session. But in a moment, I'm going to begin this training session again, and we will repeat all of this. If you feel comfortable using the platform, You may now disconnect. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. We look forward to seeing all of you at the South Carolina Synod Assembly 2024. Good night. Are you ready for me to start again? Okay. Good evening, especially to those of you who may be joining us for the first time. This is our orientation session for the 2024 South Carolina Synod Assembly. If this is your first time as a voting member of the South Carolina Synod Assembly, welcome. We're glad that you're here. And if you have been a voting member in previous assemblies, we're also glad you are here. Thank you for coming back, and thank you all for serving. This year we gather under the theme, like good stewards. It comes from 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 8 through 11. Above all, maintain constant love for one another, for love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without complaining. Like good stewards of the manifold grace of God, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received. Whoever speaks must do so as one speaking the very words of God. Whoever serves must do so with the strength that God supplies, so that God may be glorified in all things through Jesus Christ. To him belong the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. This year, we are glad to be able to gather together with one another virtually, not only to do the business of the Synod, but to hear the amazing stories of ministry that are going on across the Synod and to learn from each other. Like good stewards, may we share our gifts with those around us in order to show God's radical love and welcome. And may the 2024 South Carolina Synod Assembly be a time of sharing these stories, inspiring others, and getting people excited to say, "This is my church." I'm Jenny Abisher, and I'm proud to serve as the Bishop of the South Carolina Synod and to lead you in assembly. This May, we had the distinct pleasure of having a Bible study with 4 sessions led by the Reverend Dr. Mark Allen Powell. He is an expert on stewardship issues and did a great job stretching our minds and our imaginations and covering the theme from every angle possible. We are so thankful for everything that he did and for the opportunity we had to gather together around God's Word. If you haven't had a chance to go to those Bible studies, you should know that they are still available on our Synod website. And I encourage you to gather with small groups within your congregations and to study stewardship together with Dr. Powell. He will definitely whet your appetite and stretch your imagination for more. Now tonight we want to go over some of the basics of our voting members Lumi platform and how we use this. Voting members and those who have voice are allowed to speak during debate. You're also allowed to nominate individuals for election. If you wish to make comments to me and to speak to an issue at hand, you're asked to use the Lumi platform to get in line. The chat tech will send names of anyone who is in the speaker queue to me so that I can call upon you. And I will be calling upon you in the order that we received your request to speak. At that time, I'll ask you to raise your hand so that Lumi may identify you, and then to unmute your microphone and to turn on your camera so that you may speak. If you have speeches to make, those speeches should be limited to 2 minutes. We gather as voting members who have been called as part of the entire assembly of the South Carolina Synod to conduct business, to elect leaders, to make decisions on resolutions and memorials, to worship and fellowship together. Our language about assembly and voting members is intentional and distinct. Now, as voting members, you have had the responsibility to familiarize yourself with the biographical information for elections. This may be found on the Lumi platform and also on our website. And I hope you've had a chance to review those documents before tonight, but certainly if you haven't, that you'll take a few minutes this evening and do that. Nominations can also be received from the floor during the report of the nominating committee. If you nominate someone, please send an email to Charlene at scsynod.com. Charlene is Charlene. Provide her with the nominee's name, their email address, and a contact phone number for them. Tomorrow we'll gather in worship, and our worship will wrap around the work that we do together in assembly. The liturgy is divided into two parts. The first part will happen at the beginning of the time when we come together, and it will conclude with the prayer of the day. Part 2 will begin with the installation of the Synod Council and will conclude with the closing of assembly. Our Synod Council has designated the offerings for the 2024 assembly to campus ministries across the Synod. We have learned that food insecurity is a real issue for our young adults and for many students, and the feeding ministries of our campus is vital. Sharing a meal is a powerful means of welcoming people and creating community, and it's life-giving work. We hope that all congregations and individuals found a special way to gather the assembly offering and sent it to be a part of this very important ministry of feeding young adults on our college campuses across South Carolina. Your generosity furthers the mission. It's a tangible sign of God's grace and love. Now, there are several ways for any of you who want to participate in the offering before, during, and after worship. Mail your offering to the Synod office at 1003 Richland Street, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. Please mark your check, Assembly Offering. The second way is to visit our Synod website, particularly the Assembly page of our Synod website, and click Assembly Offering. And then finally, you can give via text. You simply text the word give to 864-383-1482. After following instructions to set up your payment information, which you may be able to do even before worship, text the dollar amount you wish to give and the word offering. And we thank you very much for every dollar you give towards this offering in 2024. We also thank you for serving as a willing and capable member of the South Carolina 2024 Assembly. I want to encourage you to use social media and the hashtag SCSynod and share pictures. If you're in a watch party, even if you're at your own table, find a way to send pictures so that we can also share in your assembly experience as well as the one here in the studio. At this time, I want to walk through the Lumi virtual platform and provide an opportunity for you to test certain functionality. This session was repeated earlier, and I believe, is this right, Neil, that it'll be this is recorded so they could see it again. If you need to see it again, it's going to be online. I want to start by telling you that you should see two panels visible on your screen. The right panel is a Zoom meeting where you will see speakers and materials displayed during our assembly. The panel on the left is where you find information and tools for the business meeting. The Zoom panel on the right. If you do not see the Zoom panel, it may be that it's minimized at the bottom of your screen or on the right side of your screen. If needed, look for a black bar at the bottom or to the right that says Zoom. And when you see that bar, click on it and open the Zoom panel. You might need to adjust your screen ratio so that the Zoom can pull out or pull in. Then you should be able to see that split screen appearance and get both screens on one. We suggest that you use a laptop or a desktop computer to properly see this Zoom panel and to follow along on one screen. On the left, you're going to see the panel for general information, requesting to speak, accessing meeting materials, and for voting members, that's where the ballot will appear as well when we take a vote. The home screen is the first screen you see when you log in, and you can always return to this screen simply by clicking home. It's the icon at the top left portion of this section. You'll find information about how to use the platform and other important information about this meeting. So please take the time to read the information thoroughly tonight, and again when you access the meeting in the morning. To view documents and to access documents, you simply click on the documents icon on the right of the menu bar. Once you click the icon, select the document that you would like to view. You can view it within the platform, or you can download it onto your desktop. Now I want to talk about the speaker queue. We're going to practice how to request to speak or make a motion from the virtual floor. There's a few very simple steps that you must follow, and one of them is to be recognized to speak. At the top of the menu bar within the left panel, you should see a speaker queue icon in the center. When you click that icon, you'll see a list of actions come down. Review that list and then type your reason for requesting to speak into the text box at the top of the screen. Once you've typed your request, you hit the arrow icon to the right of the text box to submit your request to speak. Now you've entered the speaker queue. Think of it as standing in line to speak at the microphone. You can go ahead and try that if you'd like. But remember that once you type your request to speak, you will have to wait to be recognized. You may not immediately hear me call your name, but you can count on the fact that you are in line, and I will call on you in the order that your request was received. When you hear me call your name, I'll be asking you to select the Raise Your Hand feature, which is found in the participants list under More. Once you raise your hand, wait. Do not lower your hand. Raising your hand in Zoom allows our IT staff to find you and to permit you to unmute your microphone. Please do not raise your hand in Zoom unless you have already submitted a request to speak and you are called on to speak. Once your name is called, a pop-up will appear on the right side of your screen prompting you to unmute. You'll click unmute and then begin speaking. Now please take a moment and locate the Raise Your Hand button. Click on it to raise your virtual hand. Okay. As a reminder, you must type your request to speak from the left panel to join the speaker queue before you're recognized to speak. If you raise your hand in Zoom, but you haven't typed in your request to speak in the text box, you won't be called upon because I will not see it here in front of me. I'm going to now start calling on those who have entered the speaker queue and allow you to test your microphone. If you'd like to ask a question or test your microphone and you haven't submitted a request, please go to that part now and submit a request to speak. And after you're called on, raise your hand in the panel on the right, and then I'll ask you to unmute when prompted. All right. I want to call on Clay Carlisle. Clay, will you raise your hand so Lumi can find you? And then we'll ask you if you would unmute yourself.
Good evening, Bishop.
Good evening.
Just
How are
doing the
you
mic
tonight?
test.
Excellent. Well, yours seems to be working well. Thank you.
Great. Have a pleasant evening.
And you as well. Are there any others who would like to speak or test your microphone? Remember that if you want to speak, you start by putting yourself in the speaker queue, and then you raise your hand. Lumi will find you when I call your name. They'll unmute your microphone and help you with that. Allow you to do that. Anyone else want to speak? I see no one else raising their hand and no one else in the queue. So now, voting members, we're going to test the voting technology and we're going to conduct some practice votes. Are you ready? I hope you'll all shake your head because I can see about 5 of you. I can't tell you which 5. Thank you for your help. Okay. To submit a vote, simply click on your choice. When there's a vote of yes or no, that means in favor of this, you vote yes. Opposed, you vote no. You simply click on the yes or the no, and it will record your vote immediately. You don't have to send that vote. If in the midst of the voting time, you'd like to change your vote, you simply click on the other side and vote on the other way. Voting, you can go back and forth as many times as you want until we declare that voting is closed. Once voting is closed, your last vote is the vote that will count. So let's do a practice with a question. This is a yes or no question. Is the assembly ready? Yes, I see a head. Oh, thank you, Pastor Jackie. I see a head moving. Okay, Lumi, are you ready? Can we see the first question? There we go. Did you attend the 2023 South Carolina Synod Assembly in Columbia? The vote is yes or no. Assembly, vote now. All right, voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? All right, a good number of you were at the last assembly, and I'm very glad to hear that. Now let's try a second question. Okay. This question, you're going to be asked to choose one from a short list. Answer one from a short list. And the question is, who is believed to have led the apostles after Jesus' death? Peter, Matthew, or Thomas? Assembly, vote now. Okay, voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? Excellent, assembly. Thank you. And now I'd like to do a practice election where you're going to be choosing more than one seat available. In this question, you're going to select up to 3 answers. Even if you only select one, you're going to need to hit the send button. So remember, when there's more than a yes or no or more than one vote there, you're going to have to hit a send button. So the question is, what are your favorite animals on the ark? A lion, an elephant, a donkey, a sheep, a giraffe, a penguin? Assembly, vote now. Remember, for this type of multi-seat election, you have to press the send button for your vote to be cast. Okay, voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? Ooh, almost an even split. Excellent, assembly. Thank you. Remember, you'll see a confirmation text at the top confirming your choices. And if you wish to cancel your vote, you can click the cancel button and select different choices until I say voting is closed. Now, we hope that this practice session has answered your questions and helped you to prepare to use this virtual platform during the business meeting of the assembly tomorrow. If you have any questions you would like to ask now, I invite you to enter yourself into the speaker queue, and I will call on you in just a few minutes. In a moment, I'm going to conclude this training session. Again, it will be available on our website, and we hope that it has been helpful to you. We look forward to seeing you bright and early tomorrow morning at the 2024 South Carolina Synod Assembly. Have a good night, everyone. I don't see anyone in the queue, so I think we've got it.
Hey Neil, this is Brandon. So everyone that was in the Zoom meeting, even though it looks like they're in the list, the platform has been closed, so they'll stop dropping out of Zoom here in a second, but they're actually not here. So it should just be.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that.
No worries. I was just letting you know that even though it looks like people are in the Zoom meeting, they'll start dropping out here in a second because I just closed the Lumi platform, which has that Zoom meeting. So they'll drop out here pretty soon. But there's really I don't think anybody can hear us except for you and I. But so it sounds like 7:30 in the morning.
I will be in at 7:30 and
Awesome.
have everything up and running.
Okay, cool. Any questions for me or any concerns? All good. I think I'm okay as far as everything goes. I've got all the election votes. I read through the script and got the votes that were also in the script. So I think I'm okay on my end as long as you guys are.
I'm pretty happy, except for the glitch I had, and I think I figured it out.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What was that? Out of curiosity.
For some reason, the NDI monitor program,
Right.
when she unplugged the headset during our break,
and
it kicked, it like completely clicked off the NDI.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why.
Huh.
So we'll try to fix that, and I'll have a second one sitting here ready to go anyway.
Right. Yeah. No, sounds good. Like I say, we'll test everything that you want to test in the morning and to make sure that we're ready. But yeah, we should have plenty of time with 45 minutes ahead, so we should be good.
You are wonderful. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. See ya.
Bye-bye. I am going to need that other surface.
Oh, the one in
Sarah's surface.
Okay.
Yeah, and
It's on our desk.
it'll need to be logged in. I need to add a program. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Okay. We have an issue with the phone. So
All right, what's the issue?
when they're calling in on the number that we gave, they're not able to transfer the numbers. They're not able to transfer calls to other lines for some reason. So
All right, give me a few minutes.
Okay.
Let me get stuff stopped. Go play with.
Okay.
What might be happening is
I thought maybe you were going to have the
after hours.
original.
Messing with it.
Oh, okay.